Larry, good to see you. We're getting back to basics today. We're going to talk through the retirement bucket strategy. Everyone wants sustainable income in retirement. And of course, the retirement bucket strategy divides your savings according to time horizon and purpose. So let's just start high level. How does the bucket strategy work?
Well, again, the bucket strategy allows you to take all your money instead of having it at all at risk in one spot. You kind of break it up into three spots. So you see
Mm.
there bucket one, two, and three. So you can have a 0 to 5 year horizon, a 6 to 10, and 11 plus. So you can really just kind of put your monies in separate buckets to where they all have a different strategy behind them to give you a little bit less risk going through the process.
Great. Okay, so now let's jump into specifics. What is in our first bucket, that short term bucket?
Well, that first bucket, and you see there it says termed 1 to 3 years. It could be up to 5 years. You could have very, very safe products, money market funds, cash, short term bonds, things that if the market were to have a large correction, that's not going to affect your money. So we don't have to worry about those first 3, 4 years of living expenses. We know that there's going to be a bucket available for that.
Right. And the reason why that is so important is that first bucket protects us against sequence risk. Can you explain that risk?
Absolutely. As you know, you can take over a 30, 40 year period and say we averaged an 8% return, and that number could be legitimate. But if you flip that, if the sequence of return, if that first year you have a negative year, your money's maybe gone 10 years earlier in
Right.
the one that lost that first year. So that sequence, when those rates of return comes in, is so critically important. So you can't afford that in your first 2 or 3 years of retirement. That could destroy a portfolio that was well thought out. So it's
Right.
very important to segregate those and have them in different strategies.
Right. That bucket cannot be volatile. So let's move on to our next bucket, the intermediate bucket. What's in here and what's its purpose?
Yeah, so it's just a bucket that is a little bit more aggressive. You're looking for a return around 7 to 9%. So you're using some large cap stocks, but some of the big blue chips, some bigger products that we're not as worried about quite the volatility, some bonds and long-term deposits. But again, we're going to get a little bit more ump for our money right there. And I think, Aaron, for this one, a lot of times I'll show clients this is it's a very easy project to kind of explain. When you break these three buckets down, it is easier to understand the different risk tolerances in those buckets and how the sequence of returns will help. So, but if we have a good year, I like to go ahead and take some of that money from that bucket in year two, and let's go ahead and move it into let's replace year one's money. We could have a little bit more longevity, maybe get to be a little bit more aggressive in some other areas.
Yeah, lock in those gains. And then last, of course, you have your long term bucket. And this bucket has become increasingly important since we're living longer. Our retirement years may be as long as our working years.
Living longer and the inflation, that's probably the biggest shock to a lot of my clients is they come in and they say, hey, we've done our math. We need $6,000 a month to live on. If we just have $6,000 a month forever, we'll be happy. They don't realize that in 10 years, that may be $7,500 a month just
Right.
to live in the same standard of living that 6,000 is producing today. So when they
Mhm.
see that, I joke, tease them a little bit, saying we can't have all of our money because most of us, as we get a little bit older, we get a little bit more risk averse. So
Of
let's put
course.
it all in the safe money and say we're going to go broke safely if we do that. So we need to be able to get some of it in a little bit higher growth. And if you know you don't need that money for at least 11 years, you could be a little bit more tolerable of those sequence of return risks because the market will correct itself in most cases.
Right. And that time in the market, often your best hedge against inflation as well. So, Larry, if somebody has questions about this strategy, what's the best way to reach you with questions?
They can call our office. That's area code 615-216-1048. Or they can go on our website at info@sfawealth.com.
Perfect. All right, Larry, thanks so much for your time today. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Aaron.